Welcome everyone! I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's explainer on the major structural shifts we are seeing right now in African higher education. There is some incredible momentum building out there, but let's be totally honest with ourselves. With all that fast-paced momentum comes a very real, very urgent need for strategic oversight. So if you're an institutional decision-maker tuning in, this is exactly the intelligence you need to navigate these complex waters. Let's get right into it.
Welcome to the weekly EdTech analysis from Webhostville Services. Our mission here is really quite simple. We want to align technical infrastructure, pedagogical excellence, and institutional strategy for African education. We don't just track the news, we actively interpret it through the Webhostville 4-pillar AI readiness framework. So let's cut through all the noise out there and look at exactly what today's developments actually mean for your institution.
The absolute crux of our briefing today really boils down to a choice between two entirely different approaches. On one hand, you've got reactive tech adoption, which you can see highlighted in terracotta because it is a massive strategic risk. It's chaotic, it's siloed, and honestly, it's just not sustainable. On the flip side, in cyan, we have our structural solution, a governed systems architecture. The big takeaway today is that higher education leadership absolutely must transition away from that reactive ad hoc mode and move into a governed architectural approach if they want to survive and thrive in this new era. To make sense of all these global and regional signals, we are going to structure today's analysis directly through our 4 pillars. We'll start with the secure engine room, move beyond the black box, talk about empowering the teacher architect, apply the SDG litmus test, and finally wrap it all up into a clear roadmap for your institution.
All right, Pillar 1, the secure engine room. Let's look at navigating infrastructure shifts and see how recent developments are really putting our institutional foundations to the test.
When we talk about the secure engine room, we are fundamentally talking about control and resilience. Think of it like this. You can't build a digital campus on shaky ground. It means moving away from shadow AI, those situations where staff and students are just using random, unsanctioned tools, and transitioning toward governed, secure environments. A great example of this is deploying Google Workspace for education to guarantee you have a managed cloud and strict data sovereignty. You literally have to build on a bedrock that you control.
We are seeing this play out in real time with the strategic moves by the National Universities Commission in Nigeria. They are pushing a massive 10-year STEM transformation strategy and expanding this blueprint ICT-Dev project across 10 pilot universities. And why are they doing this? Because standardizing enterprise networks is absolutely vital. It's the only way to actually overcome those persistent, everyday realities of local bandwidth constraints and power limitations across the continent.
But here is the tough pill to swallow. The unspoken truth that often gets completely swept under the rug. Scaling these digital infrastructures past their initial pilot phases genuinely threatens to erode your baseline capital reserves. Institutional leaders are walking an incredibly fine line right now. You have to maintain operational continuity, and you have to innovate, but you absolutely cannot bankrupt your core capital in the process. That is exactly why ad hoc reactive technology purchasing is so incredibly dangerous.
Moving right along to Pillar 2, beyond the black box. Let's shift gears from the hardware and networks to focus on data governance and what that means for actual student outcomes. Check this number out, 61.54%. That was the pass rate for the 2026 WASEC results for candidates getting 5 credits, including English and math. From a systems architecture perspective, this number isn't just a stat, it's a massive, glaring alarm bell. It points to a really enduring vulnerability in the transition from secondary to tertiary education. And guess what? It places this immense undue remediation burden squarely on the shoulders of your higher education institutions the second those students walk onto your campus.
So how in the world do institutions manage this huge influx of diverse learning gaps? Well, you have to move away from legacy, completely opaque assessment models. To actually tighten up that feedback loop between basic, secondary, and tertiary data tracking, you need to govern your data using the FATE framework. That stands for fairness, accountability, transparency, and explainability. Look, you simply cannot fix a learning gap if your student data is locked away inside a black box.
And the unspoken truth for this particular pillar, it all comes down to compliance. If you're going to track and manage this transparent data to help your students, which you should, you are legally bound by regulations like the NDPA 2023 in Nigeria. Having robust data governance isn't just an IT nice-to-have or an afterthought anymore. It is literally legally non-negotiable.
Which brings us to Pillar 3, empowering the teacher architect.
Let's talk about human capacity and focus on the educators who are actually navigating this digital frontier in the classroom every single day.
Okay, this next statistic absolutely blew my mind. Striking global industry analysis from Turnitin shows that a massive 48% of AI integration in schools is being driven organically by classroom educators and academic administrators. Just think about that for a second. The teachers on the ground are vastly outpacing centralized IT departments when it comes to adopting these new tools. The innovation is happening from the bottom up.
This brilliantly illustrates an organic shift towards what we love to call the teacher-architect model. We are no longer asking our educators to just be conveyors of rigid, pre-packaged content. We are asking them to become empowered designers of AI-mediated learning. But for them to do this safely and effectively, they desperately need deep AI fluency so they can act as the ethical gatekeepers for their students.
But there is a huge catch. Without formal IT governance coming from the top of the institution, these incredibly dedicated educators are basically being left out in the cold. They're forced to navigate highly complex data privacy issues and ethical tool selections in total professional isolation. Leaving your teachers to figure out your institution's AI policy all on their own, that is a massive, massive institutional risk.
Let's move to Pillar 4, the SDG litmus test. We need to zoom out a bit and connect all these internal campus challenges to the broader macroeconomic demands of the African continent.
The World Bank is hitting the nail on the head here when it comes to emerging markets. We have to rigorously test our technology strategies. We need to actively pivot away from capital-intensive, hype-driven vanity projects. Those flashy, unvetted student applications, they are severe strategic risks that just drain your bandwidth and your budgets. Instead, our solutions must focus on low-bandwidth, cost-effective, teacher-centric AI deployments. That is what actually serves as a true developmental equalizer.
Because if we don't, we hit the exact wall the World Economic Forum is warning us about, a persistent, structural gap between youth educational outcomes and what the private sector actually demands. Merely having technical familiarity is not enough anymore. Without practical, systematic problem-solving competency, our graduates are incredibly vulnerable to underemployment. We need practical competency training that's directly fueled by real institutional corporate partnerships.
Finally, Pillar 5, your institutional roadmap. We've gathered all this vital intelligence, infrastructure shifts, data mandates, organic AI adoption, economic realities. Now, let's synthesize all of these signals into actionable operational resilience for your institution. Look, the landscape you are operating in is undeniably complex. Whether you are dealing with NUC accreditation mandates, fighting for TET fund grants, or trying to ensure NITDA compliance, the central takeaway today is crystal clear. Technology implementation can no longer remain a siloed, isolated IT task. Overcoming capital erosion and these massive structural threats requires the highly structured, framework-driven solution that only proper governance provides.
Navigating this shift toward true institutional agency, especially while trying to align your internal systems with national mandates, is a really complex journey. But at Webhostville Services, we simplify this process. We ensure that your technology infrastructure, your data governance, and your human capacity development all actually work together in total harmony.
So, if you are evaluating your roadmap right now, or if you wish to discuss the practical application of the Webhostville 4-pillar AI readiness framework within your specific context, I personally invite you to reach out to us at Webhostville Services. Let's take that next step and conduct a comprehensive end-to-end tech readiness audit together. Let's explore how strategic alignment can better serve your learners. Please reach out and connect with our Strategic Partner Program. You can find everything you need at webhostville.com. You can shoot us an email at info@webhostville.com, or come join the conversation with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. I want to leave you with one big final question to really ponder today. Is your institution truly ready to transition from reactive tech adoption to a governed, sovereign systems architecture? Because the future of your students depends entirely on the frameworks you choose to build today. Thank you so much for your time, and most importantly, thank you for your ongoing commitment to excellence in African education.